This week we're going to be looking at the chapter on events and streams in the textbook. And this chapter uses object-oriented programming and introduces inherits using a utility. So let me go ahead and start by creating a new project. And I'm going to show you how the book does it, and I'm also going to show you a more modern way of doing it that's been around since Node.js version 6, and we're currently around version 12, so it's been around for quite a while. So under my WebStorm projects, I'm just going to create a test project. And let's go ahead and put a file in there called test.js. And I'll get rid of that. Okay, so what the book does is sets a constant for inherits, which is require util.inherits. Whoops, require util.inherits. And then you can use inherits like so. So I'm going to make a constructor for a new class. And let's say my class is going to be animal. And animals have names. All animals have names. And so inside the constructor, what I'll do is I'll save the name as a name property. And I'm also going to add a method called vocalize. So this.vocalize is a function, and all it does is console.log this.name, comma, makes a noise. So there's a class that makes animals, and I can use it like so. So let's make an animal, which is a new animal named Ginger. And then we're going to call animal.vocalize. So let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so undefined makes a noise. I forgot to actually set this.name equal to name. Not quite sure how I forgot that, but good. So Ginger makes a noise. Now the inheritance part comes in when I define a subclass of animal for dog. So let's define a dog class. And dogs also take names. And so the first thing that I'm going to do with the constructor for dog is call the constructor for animal on the new object I'm creating. And so the way you do that is the constructor, which is a function, has a call method, and then you can call it on this object, the object that I'm making right now, and pass in any parameters that the constructor takes. So this constructor takes a name, so I'm passing in the name parameter that I got in the constructor for dog. So that basically runs the constructor for animal on this new object before executing the rest of the code in the constructor. So all dogs will have the same thing that all animals have. And then I'm also going to override the vocalize method with a more specific one for dogs. So for dogs, this.vocalize is a function. And I'm going to refer to this.name, which is actually set in the constructor for animal. And dogs bark. So the inherits part comes in here. I can say inherits dog from animal. Now, if I go ahead and make a new dog, call him dog is new dog Spot. And I do animal.vocalize, that was Ginger, and I do dog.vocalize, and that's Spot. Everything should work correctly. Okay, so I'm calling this here, that's the first line of output, and I'm going to go ahead and comment that out so that I have all my output together. So Ginger makes a noise, but Spot barks. So the property name is set in the constructor for animals. The property vocalize is set in the constructor for dogs. Okay, so that's how the book talks about doing it. But the new syntax is class syntax in JavaScript. And so here's the same code, except using the new class syntax. So I'm going to comment out all the other code. So we start with the class keyword and then the name of the class. And this is a base class, a root class, and so I just say animal, open curly bracket, end curly bracket, and then the code for the class goes in here. So I'm going to define a constructor for animals. The default just makes an empty object. And my constructor isn't going to take any, actually we'll take one parameter, name, and then it's going to set this dot name equal to name, just like before. And then I'm going to also have a method called vocalize, which doesn't take any parameters, and it's going to console.log this dot name makes a sound. I think I said makes a noise before, but that's okay. So there's my base class, and then here is going to be a subclass. So to say that dog inherits from animal, I use the extends keyword. So that says dog is a subclass of animal. And for the constructor, constructor. The first thing I want to do is call the constructor for the parent, just like before. But here I use super. So super is a special local variable that's defined inside the class that refers to the parent class of dog. And so this is the constructor for that parent class. And I pass in name, like so. Then I'm also going to define another vocalize method. And just like before, it's this dot name barks. And that's it for the class syntax. So if I go ahead and make a new animal, oops. So Ginger is an animal. And Spot is a dog. And then animal.vocalize and dog.vocalize. So I get exactly the same results as I did before. But this syntax, once you get used to it, is a little cleaner to work with. And so that's what I'm going to be using in the project this week.